After a few weeks of speculation, the truth is out with Brock Lesnar. We'll also check out what's going on with Roman Reigns, Jacob, and more. Starting things off with Brock Lesnar and the big surprise twist there. Brock Lesnar vs. Oba was one of the most anticipated matches on the WrestleMania 42 card. A lot of fans wondered about who would win that match and who would walk away with that huge victory. The win ultimately went to Oba, but what fans didn't really see coming was what happened immediately after that match. Brock Lesnar took off his gloves and boots and left them in the ring, and he said his final goodbyes to the crowd and retired. Although there were many people that enjoyed the idea of Oba retiring Brock Lesnar and how it was a perfect retirement, lots of fans immediately questioned the legitimacy of this retirement because of how shocking and unexpected it was. When it comes to retirements in the men's division, the predictable route that everyone has been going through is a final retirement match against Gunther. The company has put all this effort and time into labeling Gunther as the career killer that it almost feels mandatory that everyone that has been retiring has to lose to Gunther on their way out. So that's why the Brock retirement felt a bit off to some people from the start. No way they let Brock Lesnar retire without Gunther being the one to do it. But after WrestleMania 42, Brock Lesnar was moved to the alumni section of the company's website. They released retirement merch for Brock, and even released an emotional video tribute for his entire career, just laying it on really thick that Brock Lesnar was done and retired, and at that point everyone figured it was true. But it was just a week ago where rumors started circulating that Brock Lesnar was allegedly on the active roster internally, and now we see that the rumor about Brock being on active roster internally was actually true after all. This brings us to the May 18th edition of Monday Night Raw, where Oba was set to do his open challenge for the third week in a row. And after week 2, we spoke about how the future of the open challenge wasn't looking so good, because after only 1 week of the challenge, they already had Adam Pearce out there saying that nobody wanted to accept it. So with this story being that the locker room was not interested in taking part in the open challenge after 2 weeks, it was a clear sign that this open challenge probably wasn't going to continue for that much longer. And that guess by the fans ultimately ended up being right. During Oba's entrance for week 3 of the open challenge, Oba was attacked by the returning Brock Lesnar. Brock was not advertised to appear on Raw, it was a complete unannounced appearance. Which is actually nice to see, because we're in an era right now where usually they tend to spoil everything ahead of time. So to have an actual genuine surprise appearance on Raw by a big star is pretty refreshing to see. It was one of those big returns that the company didn't spoil themselves, and it wasn't spoiled by dirt sheets. So as a surprise, it was surely a pretty perfect one. But Brock lays out Oba with multiple F5s, and it's instantly obvious that Brock Lesnar is no longer retired, and maybe he was never retired to begin with. Who really knows? Brock's surprise attack confirms that he's not retired, and confirms that we're getting a rematch. Adam Pearce goes up to Paul Heyman, talking about how they just put in retirement papers for Brock Lesnar, and how he had no clue what was happening. But Paul Heyman hands him over a match contract that has Brock's signature on it for Clash in Italy. Heyman said that if Adam Pearce can get Oba to sign it, they'll have the biggest rematch in history. So that finally ends all the speculation about Brock's retirement. He's not retired and he's officially back in action. Brock and Oba will meet again at Clash in Italy, and fans have a feeling that they'll definitely extend this feud past that event as well. Especially if Brock wins and now the series is tied up at 1 win apiece. A rubber match would definitely feel automatic at that point. So it surely feels like we're in for a few more months of Brock versus Oba. We see a lot of long feuds right now on television that grow old and stale after running for an endless amounts of months. So everyone hopes that's not what happens here with Oba versus Brock. It's a red hot feud right now, and hopefully they keep it fresh. It also seems like the return of Brock Lesnar has officially put the Oba Femi Open Challenge to rest. With Oba having a feud pick up again with a massive star, there doesn't really appear to be any point of continuing the Open Challenge, so that part of Oba's usage is most likely coming to an end. Definitely a disappointing run for the Oba Femi Open Challenge. It only took place for 2 weeks, and those opponents he faced during those 2 weeks were Otis, Angel, and Berto. So definitely not the type of Open Challenge matchups everyone expected to see there, but Brock Lesnar is back, so the Open Challenge may be quietly disappearing as well. Another downside to this big swerve return for Brock Lesnar that the fans are discussing is that they really toyed with everyone's emotions with Brock's WrestleMania 42 retirement. So fans feel like we may be seeing another boy who cried wolf situation here, meaning that when Brock is actually serious about retiring, it won't have as big of an impact since everyone was fooled the first time around. Basically like what we saw in 2025 with Seth Rollins. Seth goes down with that fake knee injury, and everyone felt horrible to see him get injured, but it was fake. So when Seth actually got hurt a few months later with his shoulder injury, fans didn't really care and buy into it, and waved it off as another fake injury, when it actually was legitimate. So that's the downside to pulling off big swerves like this, that when it actually comes time for Brock to retire, fans will wave it off as fake and just dismiss it. Before Brock's fake retirement at WrestleMania 42, it was expected that Brock would wrap up his career in late 2026. So now that he's back, it seems like those plans are back on. Brock is back for a few months, but is still rumored to be retiring for real later in the year. As far as what's next for Brock now that he's officially back from his 1-month retirement, it seems like we can expect at least maybe a few more matches with Oba Femi. And we know how much the company loves for Gunther to retire people, so by default we have to wonder if Gunther will actually be Brock Lesnar's final match. That's officially back in play as well. Roman Reigns and Jacob's storyline also continued this week with their 4th consecutive brawl on Monday Night Raw. But the difference this time around is that instead of closing the show with the brawl opened the show this time around. The week prior saw Jacob mop the floor with all 3 Bloodline members, and this time around, all 3 Bloodline members were able to take out Jacob. That's the only real differences, but other than that, it's another brawl segment for this storyline. Adam Pearce was seconds away from firing Jacob, but Jacob requested for a tribal combat match, and Roman accepted it. So it will be Roman versus Jacob again at Clash in Italy in a tribal combat match. There's only been 2 tribal combat matches in history, which was SummerSlam 2023 between Roman and Jay, and then Roman versus Solo at the Raw Netflix premiere, which Roman won both of those matchups. The tribal combat match is not anything too complex to understand. It's basically just a fancy term for a no-holds-barred match with no rules, and you can only win by pinfall or submission. What's also a part of these tribal combat matches is the title of Tribal Chief, meaning that Roman and Jacob are competing for both the world title and the Tribal Chief family position as well. So it adds more stakes to the matchup, especially from the family view. So this match will either see Roman improve to a perfect streak of 3 wins and 0 losses in tribal combat matches, or Jacob will shock the world and take both the world title and the Tribal Chief position from Roman. It doesn't really seem like they'll take the Tribal Chief position away from Roman and give it to Jacob, so that's what really has fans leaning in Roman's direction for Clash in Italy, and we'll see how that unfolds. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.